Level 1, negative $11. The app doesn't buzz. It just updates quietly while you're standing in line for coffee you were about to buy. You check it out of habit, not fear. Then you see the sign, negative. You step out of line. You mumble something about forgetting your wallet. Nobody believes you. Nobody has to. You already know what happened. A subscription renewed 2 days early, $7. It shouldn't matter. It does. The overdraft fee hits before you even get home. $34 for being $11 short. You do the math out loud in an empty kitchen. $34 to punish $11. The ratio doesn't make sense until you realize it was never supposed to make sense. It was supposed to hurt. You call the number on the back of the card. A recording tells you your wait time is longer than usual. It is always longer than usual. A person eventually answers, reads from a screen, says the fee is standard and non-negotiable. You ask if there's any flexibility. There is a pause that isn't really a pause. It's a script deciding whether you're worth the exception. You are not. You hang up and open your bank's app again like it might have changed its mind. It hasn't. You walk into a branch on Saturday. The line is 4 people deep and moves like it's underwater. When you reach the counter, the teller's eyes flick to the screen before they land on you. Something in her face resets. Not unkind, administrative. She processes the request in under a minute and doesn't ask if there's anything else. You leave holding the door for someone walking in and get nothing held for you. The first rule at negative $11. You are not a customer. You are a category the system already knows how to handle, and the handling was never about you. Level 2, $400. You've stabilized. Barely. The direct deposit hits, and for 6 hours you have breathing room before rent, before the phone bill, before the number contracts back toward zero. You get an email. Monthly maintenance fee, $12. Waived if your balance stays above $1,500. You don't have $1,500. You will never have $1,500 at this rate, so the fee stays quietly, permanently, a tax on not having enough to avoid the tax. You apply for a credit card to build history. They offer you secured only. Give us $300, they say, and we'll lend it back to you at 22%. You read the terms twice, certain you're misunderstanding. You aren't. The bank wants collateral from you to extend you your own money at a markup. You don't sign. Your car needs a $200 repair you can't front, so you take the bus for a week, and your manager says nothing but looks at the clock when you walk in. You go back to the branch to dispute the fee. The teller helping the man ahead of you is laughing at something he said, asking about his weekend. When you step up, the laugh recedes into something practiced. She isn't rude. She's just already moved on to the next number before you've finished the sentence. 40 seconds. No goodbye. The bank doesn't dislike you at $400. The bank doesn't register you at $400. The second rule, invisibility, isn't the absence of attention. It's what attention looks like when there's nothing to extract. Level 3, $4,000. Something shifts, quietly, structurally. Your direct deposit has landed on the same date for 8 months straight. The system notices patterns before it notices people, and yours has finally become interesting. The maintenance fee disappears without you asking. You check the statement 3 times. Sure, it's an error. It isn't. The bank saw the pattern and decided keeping your money was worth more than the $12. Real credit offers start arriving. Unsecured this time. 22% interest, but no collateral required. Your name is printed on the envelope in a font that wasn't there a year ago. You apply. Approved in 90 seconds. It feels like being noticed by someone who ignored you at a party for years. You walk into the branch, and the teller says good morning before you reach the counter. Not warmth. Recognition. The middle distance between contempt and care, which is where most people live their entire financial lives without knowing it has a name. You apply for a small loan, $3,800 for a transmission. Approved in 2 days at 14%. Not generous, not predatory either. Just functional, the way the commercials always claimed it would be. You realize the bank was never evaluating your character. It was evaluating your predictability. And predictability, it turns out, is the only trait that has ever mattered to them. The third rule, you don't become trustworthy to a bank. You become forecastable And forecastable is the closest thing to trust a spreadsheet can hold. Level 4, $32,000. Your credit limit changes without a request. $1,200 becomes $3,800 overnight, a decision made somewhere you'll never see by a system deciding you can carry more rope without falling. A person calls the next morning. Not automated, a name and a direct line. Your first relationship banker. He asks about goals, timelines, nothing urgent, just a 15-minute check-in. The same institution that put you on hold for 40 minutes a year ago is calling you first thing on a Tuesday. A fee appears on your statement, $22. You email your banker instead of calling a phone tree. 90 minutes later, it's reversed. No form, no script, a 2-line reply that says handled. The same fee that used to be permanent is now optional, and the only thing that changed is which folder your account sits in. You get an email with your first name in the subject line. A small thing, deliberate, trained into every relationship banker because small things keep accounts from leaving. You start to understand something the lower levels never let you see. The bank was never cruel to you. Cruelty requires attention. What you experienced before was indifference. And indifference at scale is indistinguishable from cruelty until you're standing on the other side of it. The fourth rule, the fees didn't get smaller. Your tier got bigger, and tiers are the only currency the system actually speaks. Level 5, $190,000. The word preferred shows up on your statement header, on the login screen, in the email signature of the man who now handles your account. You didn't request the title. The number requested it for you. Your banker becomes a person with a name you remember without trying. David, who mentions your sister in Chicago because you said it once, 11 months ago, and he wrote it down. He emails on your birthday, not automated, written, a sentence that took someone 30 seconds to type and was worth every one of them to the institution's retention metrics. You walk into the branch, and someone with an office and a nameplate stands to greet you, guiding you past the line you used to stand in without knowing it was a line at all. A letter arrives, pre-approved for a mortgage you haven't asked for, the bank deciding what you can afford before you've decided what you want. A competing bank calls offering to beat your rate. You mention it to David. He calls back within the hour with a counteroffer nobody had to ask for. The fifth rule, you are not being served anymore. You are being retained, and retention only activates once losing you would cost someone else's quarterly numbers. Level 6, $1.1 million. The bank stops being a place you visit. David stops emailing and starts calling, and when he calls, it isn't to ask how you are. It's to ask when you'd like to meet his colleague in wealth management who drives to your office instead of the reverse, carrying reports in a leather folder, asking about tax structure and timelines and things you didn't know had names until this conversation. 90 minutes pass and nobody tries to sell you anything because the selling already happened before you sat down. You call about a wire transfer that stalled. Someone answers on the second ring. No hold music. No transfer between 4 departments. The problem dissolves inside the same call that would have taken 3 hours and a headache at any level below this one. You're invited to a dinner the bank hosts, 8 guests, a view of the city from an angle you've never seen it from, and nobody at the table mentions money once, because money is the room itself now, not the topic. The 6th rule, you stopped being a customer somewhere between David's first call and this dinner. You became an asset, and assets get protected, not served. Level 7, $9.4 million, private banking. The word sounds like an upgrade of wealth management, but it isn't a service anymore. It's a relationship, and relationships negotiate rules instead of following them. You don't have a banker. You have a private banker, a title that means something specific inside the institution, someone who manages fewer than 20 accounts total, and yours is one of them. He knows your children's names. He knows about the foundation you mentioned once over coffee and never brought up again. Your mortgage rate isn't published anywhere. It's negotiated in a single call. An investment minimum gets waived because the relationship justifies waiving it. Paperwork that takes 2 weeks for anyone else clears in 2 days because someone flagged whose file it was. You walk into a branch you've never set foot in, and they already know your name, before you've signed anything. A system that flagged you everywhere at once, not for fame, for position. You sit in a room with no logo on the door and a table made of one piece of wood, discussing a deal that will never appear on any public document. A room that exists only because clients like you exist. The seventh rule: the bank doesn't bend the rules for everyone. It bends them exactly as far as the relationship is worth, and yours is worth quite a lot now. Level 8, 25 million. You don't have a banker anymore. You have a relationship. And the distance between those two words is the entire distance between this level and everyone beneath it. Somewhere inside the institution, careers are quietly organized around not losing your account. Not because anyone announced it, because the math made it true without anyone needing to say it aloud. The deals aren't menus anymore. They're sentences written for one person. An interest rate gets set in a phone call instead of a formula. Investments arrive in your inbox before they're available to anyone else, structured around your participation before you've agreed to participate in anything. The chief investment officer asks your opinion on emerging markets, not as a courtesy, because your capital and your read on the world have become genuinely useful to people who used to be unreachable. You are shaping the institution that once charged you $34 for being $11 short and put you on hold for 40 minutes while it decided whether you deserved a callback. The bank doesn't have a customer at 25 million. It has a partner, and the partner has a name, and the name is yours. Somewhere right now, someone is standing in a coffee line watching their app update to a number with a minus sign in front of it. They overdrafted by $11. The fee is already calculating itself in the background before they've even opened the notification. They call the number on the back of the card. The recording tells them the wait is longer than usual. It is always longer than usual. They don't know yet that the system isn't broken. It's working exactly the way it was designed to. The same institution that will one day fly someone out to ask their opinion on emerging markets is, at this exact moment, deciding whether an $11 mistake deserves a $34 punishment. You were that person once, at some balance, on some Tuesday. The bank didn't change between then and now. It just started showing you a different version of itself, the same way it always does. The version it decides you've earned. The bank doesn't change at any level. The bank reveals what it always was, and it only shows you the parts it thinks you can afford to see.